Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trolled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello dear listener and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin and with me as always is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son, Thomas.
Hi, hello.
What have you been up to?
Up to here in election stuffs.
Up to here?
Yeah, up to here.
Right.
Yep, here on this completely visual
Dear listener,
medium.
He's pointing at his neck.
Which, you know, went reasonably well. It's unclear what sort of majority that Labour will have. It looks like they'll have a majority.
Yeah.
Whether that's a blocking majority or a passing majority remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Blocking meaning they have 75 and the Speaker, who, as convention goes, will vote for the status quo if their vote is required.
Yeah.
Or 76 and the Speaker. Or possibly very, very, very low chance, but possibly 77 and the Speaker.
Yeah.
But
it's hard to tell still as to whether that's a low chance or a reasonable chance. And there are conflicting sources of opinions and, yeah. So it's all still a little up in the air.
A bunch of people have got it in their heads that Pauline Hanson won't be re-elected to the Senate in Queensland.
I keep reading that, and I'm looking at the figures and
it's not
thinking,
true.
no.
It's not true. She is almost certainly going to be re-elected in the Senate.
Yeah. The amount of actual relevance she will have is
almost
a lot
none.
lower.
Almost none.
Yeah.
It's also unclear in the Senate exactly what deals Labour will have to do in order to get things passed.
Yeah. Because they certainly have a minority in the Senate, but I still wouldn't classify it as a hostile Senate.
No.
Anyway, that's all politics.
Yeah.
It's certainly election night, Saturday night, did start off looking a little scary for those of us who are either centre or centre-left, especially considering the forecasts and the polling were all based on two-party preferreds, and this is a really bizarre election where there is two parties plus a very strong mixture of independents. And Greens. So the two-party preferred predictions may well have been accurate when asked who would you prefer, A or B, when in fact you're going to vote for C and C is not the option.
Yeah.
So all of these people are saying, the polls were wrong. I suspect the polls were very right, but the questions were wrong.
You have to take the two-party preferred polling in the context of the primaries, which is to say the first preferences.
Yeah.
And if you did that, then you might have had a better idea of how Saturday was going to turn out.
Yeah. Anyway, Aussie politics. It's a strange breed.
Also important not to get too wrapped up in the very, very early seat calls, because those are going to be in seats that are primarily small booths that will get in very quickly.
Yes.
Which is to say rural booths.
Yeah.
And rural seats, which are traditionally, and have remained, the domain of the Lib Nat coalition.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What else have you been up to?
More Giro d'Italia. It has been a completely unpredictable mix of events over in Italy, and I am excited to see how the last few stages turn out this week.
So how many nights do you have to still enduro?
Tonight and 4 after.
Right. Well, let's see if we can wrap this thing up so that you can get back to your cycling.
I'm gonna miss basically the first half of tonight's stage, but that's okay.
That is okay.
That's okay.
You will make sacrifices for our dear listener.
I will.
Good.
What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? I've been being stabbed.
Oh.
In multiple places. I got stabbed in the finger.
Uh-huh.
I got stabbed in the inner elbow.
Uh-huh.
And I got stabbed just below the shoulder.
Right.
All in the same arm.
Mm-hmm.
So I, as usual, donated blood. I also got my flu jab today.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing lots and lots of walking and my feet hurt again.
Right.
But they hurt in a slightly different way, which is promising. I think I'm developing calluses rather than blisters. So, yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. But I'm on a bit of a streak. I've gone for a reasonable walk for the first 3 days of this week. In fact, the first 4 days, if you count Sunday, depending on how you count your days and weeks and what days start the week. I do Monday to Sunday, but in fact I did go for a walk on Sunday as well.
Where weeks fall doesn't really matter to me when I'm really just anchoring my week on specific recurring events rather than a work schedule, which I don't have.
Yep.
This is work. This is the one piece of
everything
quote-unquote
in your
work.
life revolves around this podcast, doesn't it?
Yes.
So I think you should take the reins as far as editing it as well.
Well, what I'm saying is that I can work out where things are in a week based on their relation to when we record.
Yeah. I actually moved the regular fortnightly blood donation from a Monday to a Tuesday because so many public holidays fall on a Monday and catching buses is more problematic to get to the blood donor centre, which does open on public holidays.
But there's just less.
But my fortnights would keep falling on these public holidays, and getting in there on a bus was problematic. So I shifted it a day, but my brain hasn't quite shifted.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so this podcast, I keep forgetting, it's tomorrow rather than in 2 days' time.
It's wrong relative to your anchor.
That's exactly right. Other than that, I think I just changed the first LED bulb in this house. It spat the dummy and started flickering crazily, and
which probably not a problem with
the LEDs themselves. No, something else went on the fritz. So, so that's been dealt with, except that the glass covering that goes over once you put the bulb in has been up there for so long, it has become quite brittle and it broke.
So now we have
a nude bulb in the hall.
Not quite as diffuse lighting as before.
Yeah, but the thing with LED bulbs, though, is that they tend to be... I think the ones that we've got are all quite diffused. Anyway, we digress.
We do.
We've waffled on, and you have a bike race to watch, and we have a movie to watch.
We do.
What are we watching this week?
We are watching, in some quite fascinating packaging...
I'm so looking forward to asking you to open the case. And
oh no, I've worked out how it opens. We're watching Witness.
We are. Good. So, Thomas is going to put in... No, he's not. He's going to read the plot synopsis from the back of the Curious Case, so that all of you dear listeners who are unfamiliar with Witness shall be still none the wiser.
No. When a young Amish woman and her son get caught up in the murder of an undercover... I'm going to start again.
Please, start again.
When a young Amish woman and her son get caught up in the murder of an undercover noir.
Yeah, noir. Film noir. Cat noir.
When a young Amish woman and her son get caught up in the murder of an undercover narcotics agent, their savior turns out to be hardened Philadelphia detective John Book. Their savior turns out to be hardened Philadelphia detective John Book. Harrison Ford is sensational as Book, the cop who runs head-on into the non-violent world of a Pennsylvania Amish community. The end result is an action-packed struggle of life and death, interwoven with a sensitive undercurrent of caring and forbidden love.
I reckon the problem that you had reading that was that you were reading off cardboard rather than off paper through a clear plastic sleeve.
I don't think that was it. I don't think that had anything to do with it.
You really could have run with that.
No.
And all would have been accepted. But no, you're
see,
going to...
that's not our dynamic, is it?
No, not really.
No. I could have slid out the centre bit that actually contains the disc and read it off the same type of cardboard.
You could have.
Yeah.
And you would have run into the same problem.
Would I?
I don't know.
I'm not
Thomas
sure
is going
it's
to
related.
continue to open the case. He's taken the case out of its cardboard slip and to reveal a fold-out cardboard case with a plastic pasted-in insert, which is holding the disc.
With a strange spindle.
He's going to take it off its spindle.
Let's see if this spindle is any good. I want to do... For once, I want to do this on the record.
It's not a record, it's a DVD.
Yeah, got it.
He's got it.
Yeah, that was some rigmarole.
It was. It is now in his hand.
Now it's in my hand.
Which means he does have to go over to the DVD player. He's going to pop it into the DVD player. We're going to watch it, and then we're going to come back and talk about it. So we shall catch you on the cardboard slipcase.
Turn to panel the third. The third panel. Because it has 3 panels.
It does.
Who thought this was a good idea?
I think it was a cheap idea. I don't understand. I really don't understand. I never did when I bought it.
No.
Anyway, put it in. Let's watch it, you mongrel.
Okay.
So, what did you think?
It's a little slow, but I think I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't unbearably so.
Right.
And I think I liked the film.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I had forgotten how solid it is.
Mm.
I thought, considering the number of 80s movies that we have seen recently that tend to be on the slow side, I thought this was pretty tight.
Mm-hmm.
It is still an 80s movie.
Yeah.
I mean, for a number of reasons, but I thought every scene was important and the editing was such that I never felt an urge to, come on, let's move this on. And possibly that has something to do with the fully intentional idea of making you comfortable in the environment. And you know, the Amish community is not hindered by progress.
No.
So everything is paced accordingly. You know, there's no machinery that makes things happen quickly, and apart from having to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, and the non-mechanical construction of a barn, that whole sequence is just absolutely wonderful. And my understanding is that is a very real occurrence.
Yes.
The one-day barn building.
That is something they do.
But it wasn't made to feel like you're watching it for one day.
No.
It was very economically constructed film-wise to make you feel part of it, but also feeling that slow, gradual acceptance of being part of the community.
To be clear, the production did put up the barn in a day, but they did cheat.
Yeah, and it was it was certainly filmed in that community. So I wonder how I guess ripped off they must have felt having cheating involved. And whether it got pulled down afterwards or left up. And
there were cranes involved in the bits we didn't see.
Yeah. Possibly my only hang-up with that film is that fine line between showing lovingly that community and exploiting it, I guess. Yeah. I cannot imagine that film making those tourists more sympathetic on their visits. I don't think it would have turned off anyone who was planning to go as a tourist to watch the Amish, change their minds and not go. Am I making any sense here?
Yeah. Amish covers a broad spectrum of peoples and cultures. They were not happy with this film.
No, and I can fully understand why. So I can't make that judgment as to whether it was exploitative or not. But there were times where I did get uncomfortable and think, yeah, they have the cliched tourists doing their cliched tourist things and showing that that's an awful thing to do. But in a lot of ways, they did much the same thing in making it. All that being said, I love that film.
It is solid, yeah.
It has been so long since I've watched it. I was thinking, has this really, really aged badly? But I thought that it was still a good, solid film. And the acting's wonderful. It's interesting, the number of contrasts and similarities between this and Mosquito Coast. You've got the same director, you've got the same main star, you've got the same composer, and they're only a year apart. And yet this just felt so much tighter. Harrison Ford was far, far more convincing in this. And I believe that Roger Ebert on the case said something along the lines of this was his best performance.
Harrison Ford has never given a better performance in a movie.
I fully agree. And certainly up against Mosquito Coast, where I felt that just didn't work. He was not convincing in that. This, he was convincing in that transition. So much so that it leaves you wondering at the very end, even though his main rival, love interest-wise, is heading straight to the house as the closing credits start to roll. It makes you wonder whether he's going to clean up his desk and go back. Speaking of Maurice Jarre, the music, again, heavily synth orchestrated. Absolutely amazing use of that synth bass string. I think it's the biggest workout musically wise that the subwoofer has has been worked, because they were really, really low rumbling, get you in the chest bass that I don't think we would have felt if the subwoofer wasn't on. It would have been a frequency that was completely lost. That being said, again, we heard the 80s synth drum in this. So I'm pretty chuffed by that. We got the doo-doo-doo-doo.
And some good folk-ish music in there too.
Yep.
Over the credits, I'm listening to the music and I'm like, oh, you're playing two themes over the top of each other. That's nice. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. The other thing that I was happy with was I think they got the balance right as far as the drama, the suspense, the comedic elements, because there was certainly some very light-hearted, humorous lines, and I did note some of them down, but I'm not going to do a line regurgitation here. But the balance of all of those things was again, I think tight.
Yeah.
Nothing was over the top. It made you feel. Do you have anything else?
No, I didn't actually end up taking any notes.
No, I'm surprised with how little. It was a film that drew you in and didn't make you want to take notes. And I guess that is another example of how, I guess for me at least, non-drawn out it was. The pacing was such that, okay, I'm in the zone now. I don't want to be distracted by writing notes. All right.
Yeah.
So have you got nothing else?
No.
It sounds like you appreciated it.
Yeah.
Dare I say liked it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it too. So if you can get your hands on it, it's a good, solid blast from the past. Do watch. All right, let's move on.
The following segment needs a little more time in the oven. It's done now. Okay. And while things were going on, I'm sort of multitasking and trying to work out multiple things.
Come on, Antony Green. I
No.
can't remember anything on Facebook. No.
Okay, then we will go to YouTube first, I think.
Right.
Because that'll have a better
Will.
flow to this segment.
And I shall feel a twang of guilt here, making certain parties feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Dunkel
Sorry, Dunkel.
writes in to say that she re-listened back to some of the episode on the Muppets and noticed that she hadn't guessed the title in the comments.
Yes, that's right. I knew there was something I was sorry for, and now I'm doubly realising.
Forgot that we mentioned in the parts that she did not re-listen to that there wasn't a file name for that one.
Because I botched it.
Fortunately, though,
yes,
there's still a win in this for us.
There is.
Dunkel's guess for the file name of that episode, Top Gun, was F-14 Tom.
It was.
Yeah.
And
that's it's close.
It's very close.
It's close.
You picked up on certain hints very heavily, but not quite there.
No, not quite.
Zoned in to the danger zone.
Not exactly the way that Colin broke his own rules.
I broke my own rules, but I did give strong hints that may or may not have been picked up by someone.
Well, over on Discord.
Oh, that's right. We've got someone from Discord, don't we?
Entuosferatu.
Hi, Entuosferatu.
First of all, the podcast name last week was a lie. There was cellulose involved.
Yes. We might have to delete that episode from the lineup completely.
He also says that if you can't remember what the file name was for the Mosquito Coast, then his guess for last week is correct by default.
Okay, you win. But that's the one and only win that we are going to award you. Ever.
Well...
What?
He continues...
Yes.
If this week isn't Tomcat, I will be shocked. Colin, was last week's file name Tomcat?
Maybe. Perhaps. Possibly.
Dear listener Entuosferatu, it was in fact Tomcat. Congratulations.
All right, so you either win for Tomcat or you win. Well done.
Yes.
Well done. Yes. Speaking of, when I was editing that episode, it made me remember a couple of other reasons why it got that name. That aircraft was just the aircraft to admire and drool over. So much so that I built possibly 2 or 3 various scale models of Tomcats, because they're just, the lines in them are just absolutely wonderful. But then I believe all of those 3 models ended up having fireworks stuffed inside them to blow them up.
That tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In those simpler days when you could buy fireworks over the counter in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Until they realised that, no, too many hands were being blown off and faces blown up and hearing loss. And anyway, that's a story for another day. Tomcat it was. Well done, Entu Osferatu.
And that's the end of this listener engagement segment.
It is, other than a reminder that this episode does indeed have a file name.
It does. It does have a file name.
Yep. So hopefully we get some contributions for that. Anyway, let's move on.
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed.
And it's your turn.
It is my turn. And I'm trying to work out if I go along the lines of the sad news that came earlier in the week.
Ah, okay. Yep.
Unfortunately, this past week has marked the passing of one Greek composer, Vangelis.
Yep.
And I'm trying to work out if I go Blade Runner or not.
Uh-huh.
Keeping in mind that I do have some 3 other movies waiting in the wings that I keep...
You do?
That doing this would put off even further.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I have seen Blade Runner fairly recently.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember when you last saw it.
It's been a while for me.
Yeah, okay. This is your choice.
it
I'm
is
certainly
my
not
choice.
going to throw a white flag if you choose that. And it is a very fine example of Vangelis' work. I should point out that as a teen, even an early teen, I collected many of his albums. The very first vinyl LP I ever bought with my own money. And I would have been maybe 11 or 12 when I bought it, was a Vangelis album. At that stage, the soundtrack to the TV show Cosmos had not been released as an album, but I so wanted to get my hands on the Vangelis theme to that, and it turned out that it was on a previous album of his called Heaven and Hell. And so I got a copy of that, and yes, it had that piece of music on it, and it had some other amazing stuff on it, and I was hooked.
Well,
up to you.
I think I'm going to Cossatoin about it. Cossatoin about it.
Yes.
I'm going to say heads, Blade Runner, tails, the other thing.
Okay.
Okay, Google, toss a coin. Heads it is.
Heads it is.
So I guess we're watching one of the various versions of Blade Runner next week.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us to another question.
I think his final cut.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 So, next week, Blade Runner, the final cut.
For those who are unaware of what Blade Runner is all about, can you dig up a plot descriptor off the back of the case?
I have a sentence.
Good. No, that'll do.
In a future of high-tech possibilities, soured by urban and social decay, Rick Deckard hunts for fugitive, murderous replicants, and is drawn to a mysterious woman whose secrets may undermine his soul.
Well, that was a sentence.
It was.
Wow.
It was a sentence.
And with very deep meaning, too.
Yep.
No, I'll run with that. I'll Blade Run with that. We hope that you can join us when we watch Blade Runner, the final cut, But until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us, in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
What? What? I just had a lucid moment.
Yeah. Was it?
I had to run with it.
Was it lucid?
Maybe that's not the word I'm looking for. You keep using that word. I'm going to hit stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good plan.
Go watch the cyclists. Go watch the men in Lycra.
I will.
Okay.